great war comes as we know it must. And the government says it's time for every citizen to go and fight to the death.
Yo, it's Guido and welcome back to Tactics Talk. Appreciate you guys tuning in. On this episode, I've got the replay of the week with K22236821 from the Clan Shift. He's in a Sheridan, Tier 10 American light tank. K2, just as a side note, when I search your name, K222, there's at least a dozen people with K222. But once you put the 3 on there, you're the only guy past that. So I'm assuming those numbers have significance, but if you're trying to be unique, you didn't need the rest of them. I'm just kidding, man. Like I said, he's on his Sheridan here, and we're on Proc Fiery. We just don't have a Winter Proc or Fiery yet, but 2 maps that are very similar, slightly different, but very similar. A while ago, I put a video up on active scouting. I don't remember if it was Proc or Fiery, doesn't really matter. But I was surfing the middle right there and did a pretty good job as far as spotting goes. And I got this video from K2 afterwards. He said, hey, here's me doing the same thing or a similar thing, using some of the techniques. And oh, by the way, it got me 15.3 or light tank 15 for the T55. So it's going to end up being a pretty good game. So let's see how K2 does with this. Get going just a little bit faster, and then I will click over to his view. So he's taken the Sheridan out. And you'll note that he's in a 357. But there are quite a few scouts, so this is going to be interesting how he actually gets his spotting, because it's not all going to be on the ridge. A little foreshadowing. Also, RNG is going to have a love affair with our hero here. Whack. The other Sheridan pays the price. Why that Sheridan would stop out in the open like that, I don't know. He must have been drawn like a moth to the flame because he had spots. Missed that time and we're coming around. Now the bowl that K2 is working in right there, I try to avoid. It works out for him quite well in this game. He also doesn't scout a whole bunch over on this other side. But they end up having quite a few tanks stacked there. And he's also fighting for spots with the other scout that's surfing up here. You see he's already got 932 and 354 of his own damage, so he's off to a good start. He's going to come right up in here. Now, what he's doing by using this bowl, as long as he can do it without getting wrecked, there's a rev back there, is that he's getting a little bit closer and he's kind of stopping the enemy from moving up along the 1-2 line enough for them to be really useful. Now, he's still going to get spotted when he pops up there, but he's not going to have anybody sitting there right next to him. So he's already denied. And one of the things that what he did there came right up to spot the bush at E2, basically. If he gets there fast enough, he can often catch the enemy trying to get into that bush and stop them from being able to. See, there's the STA-1 who's trying to move up, but he's not very far. And that's a great counter scout move to keep them out of the E2 bush. Now, the E2 bush gets whacked by the Type 4 there with HE. Thank God it didn't pin. The E2 bush is not nearly as... That was an amazing shot. Thank you, RNG. The E2 bush is not nearly as important as it used to be. There used to be quite a static slugfest along the 1-2 line, and this is a while ago, meta-wise. And the E2 bush could absolutely wreck, but nowadays not as many people go stack up on the 1-2 line. You'll still have your basic campers and some big TDs and things like that, but the 1-2 line is not nearly as a target-rich environment for that bush as it used to be. In fact, this is a bit off topic, but a long time ago, from the north spawn, you could actually get to the E2 bush on occasion, and that was even more amazing than doing it from the south spawn. Because if they didn't push up and spot you, you could see way into the backfield. Now there's a Udes back there, which is interesting that he hasn't taken any fire from that guy, or maybe that he just hasn't been targeting. The good news for K2 on this is that bat power slide, that bat chat is drawing some fire as well. If you have 2 scouts popping up constantly and randomly, it does a nice job of keeping the enemy from concentrating on just one scout and can often help you. Now we've got some good depression on this Sheridan. There's a bush right here as well, and we got an STA. Boom. The bush isn't big enough to to block him from all directions, so somebody spotted him obviously, and it's a good idea to get moving because we have a 53-55 out there. Now we're at 2600 spotting already and 1200 damage, so I believe that's already good enough for light tank 15-1, I believe. It might be 3000 for the Stug 4 mission, but he's very close to that if it is 3000. I knows there's a Yudes back there, and I believe it's a Rev. The STA buggered off, and the enemy team has lost some pretty good tanks. So 2 of their 10s and a 9 are already down. One of their scouts are already down, and his team has lost a 57. Initially, this surprised me a little bit. I'm thinking, what are you doing, you fool? No way. But it ends up working out. Off he goes. And like I said, he didn't get all of his spotting. Just, whoa, he bounced, I believe, the Yudes. Just that little dodge, that was nicely timed. So he didn't get all his spotting from from surfing the ridge. He went and found tanks to spot that no one else was spotting, and he gobbled up some more damage from it, or some more spotting damage. So that put him up to 35. You can see quite a few stacked up now on the 5-6 line. Now he's got an opportunity to gobble up some damage sitting on the 5-6 line. You're unlikely to get spotted right there at K2. Oh, the JP2 wants out like a cockroach. He's trying to climb the walls. No, don't do it. Oh, you missed. And he goes down. And let's see, maybe this guy. No, how about this fat kid? Another cockroach running off the wall. He's running. Nope, can't get to him. Time to get on your horse. The only thing I'd worry about is the object 430. Is he still lurking around on those trees on the 5-6 line? Nope, he's run away as well. So they're all cornered into a, well, corner. And we haven't seen the Artie, so he's not up in A1 more than likely. Probably over in A6 or all the way up at A0 if he climbed up there. Let's find out where he is. Unfortunately, this charioteer is with him, so he's not going to get all the spotting himself. There's the artillery. Oh, 2 misses. Oh, the artillery blaps the charioteer and lights him on fire. There goes the artillery, and K2 checks his buddy. You alright? No, I'm burning. And he's going to come up and over now. It's just hit point time right here. There you go. Let's get some... Oh, no, not him. Let's shoot him. There we go. And there's a 430 on his right. I'm just taking these hit points. And what's interesting, if we stop it here real quick, is he's at 4,680. This object, I'm not really sure how this works right here, because the object is right there in the bushes, and I'd imagine it's got to be close enough for the 103 and the Rev to be proxy lighting, or maybe they're just not quite close enough, being 50 meters, or I believe. So this is interesting, because what's going to happen is, I'm just going to watch this side over here. It's the artillery that comes in before those 2 tops, so they must have been just outside of proxy light range just as the artillery came in and hit and popped them up over 5,363. And that's the end of the game. So nice job, K2. 2,639, 5,546 spotting, good enough for 15.3. Replay of the week. Using some of the things that I've talked about and going ham in some other cases as far as just rolling up the 1-2 line, getting aggressive in there. And sometimes you got to do that. You know, scout needs to go find the targets for other people to shoot. It can't all just be passive or scouting ridges and dodging things like that. Sometimes you really just got to get in there and dig them out. And Fiery and Proc is a good example of that kind of map, especially late game when there's not as many guns out there that can blap you. If you're digging out TDs and things like that, as long as you don't walk straight into them, which we sort of did and got lucky, but we'll just let that drop for a second. When you're digging out the last few guys and there's not as many guns, is what I'm saying, is you've got a higher likelihood of surviving. And sometimes you're very close to that spotting damage you need. And if you can get out in front of your guys that are all pushing in to gobble up the hit points, and you get the lights and then they blap them all, that can often push you up over the mission requirements. So think about that when you're running a scout. End game like that, sometimes a little bit of extra aggression just to get those spots will push you up and over what you need, especially if you're already having a good one. Say you're already at the 2,000, 3,000 kind of point, 4,000 kind of point. All right, guys, I hope you liked what you saw. If you did, make sure you subscribe, and even more so, I hope you learned something. As always, we will see you.